If there is a result of that meeting, we'll bring that to you here on TRT World. In the meantime, let's speak to Lebanese MP Mark Daou, who joins us live from Beirut. Mark, good to have you with us on TRT World. You're described as an independent reformist MP. Just outline very quickly for us your position on the ongoing talks between Israel and Lebanon and where you sit with Hezbollah.
Thank you for having me. I think the talks that happened yesterday or were initiated yesterday in DC is a major breakthrough for Lebanon, a country that has not had its independent foreign policy or the ability to control what happens on its turf in terms of when to open war and when to stop it. So yesterday is a strong indicator that the Lebanese state decided on a path of direct negotiations. It was able to deliver that and start the process. Now, that is a tool that the state has. The military situation is still dire. The Israelis are still occupying more lands and striking deep into Lebanon. And tonight's meeting of the Israeli cabinet is giving indications that they do not intend on committing to a ceasefire. So Lebanon finds itself in a very hard position between Hezbollah's initiation of the fight and now the current situation of more than 250 kilometers square of southern Lebanon under Israeli occupation that we need to liberate. So my position is I resent Hezbollah's independent military actions against Israel, coming out from Lebanon with no government decision just to support Iran. But at the same time, I condemn the Israelis for occupying my country again and not stopping, although the Lebanese state is saying we want an end to the conflict, we want to reach an agreement, and we're willing to do direct talks together.
Okay. As I understand it, Hezbollah are the second largest party in the Lebanese parliament. So clearly they do have a significant level of support within Lebanon. Is it not for those people to decide what Hezbollah should do instead of Israel?
Of course, the decision should be taken by the parliament, not just the people who support Hezbollah. What is happening now is Hezbollah unilaterally decided to open the war and unilaterally is objecting to negotiations, but the state, depending on the majority in the Council of Ministers and the decision of the president, as well as I'm very confident the majority of members of parliament have decided to support direct negotiations. And me and several colleagues are calling for an open session for parliament to debate governmental policy and to extend our support, the majority of parliament, for the path forward. Unfortunately, Hezbollah continues to resist and is not accepting to abide by the decisions of the state. Thus, on the 2nd of March, a day after they unilaterally launched rockets against Israel, defying the decision of the state not to engage in the war between Iran and the US and Israel, Hezbollah did that, so the government took a decision by declaring Hezbollah's military and security operations illegal in Lebanon, and since then several of their partisans have been detained and jailed by the military tribunal in Lebanon.
And of course Hezbollah would say that they fired those rockets because Iran was attacked by Israel and the US. How would you practically go about disarming Hezbollah then if we were ever to get to that stage?
Hezbollah has to take a decision. It is a Lebanese entity, and as you justly mentioned, they do represent people in Lebanon. Therefore, they need to take a decision to abide by the majority decisions taken by the parliament, as well as abide by the decisions of the Council of Ministers, which Hezbollah has 2 ministers in that cabinet. Therefore, Hezbollah is not withdrawing from the cabinet yet and not abiding by the decisions. So I think the real decision is if Hezbollah wants to give priority to their allegiance to what's happening in Iran, or they want to give a priority to unifying the Lebanese national voice and debating and discussing and then voting and having a sovereign decisions in the constitutional institutions of the Council of Ministers and others. I don't support any direct confrontations with Hezbollah in Lebanon. I think the Lebanese army does have to put a lot of pressure on the capabilities of Hezbollah to operate as an independent military organization capable of dragging our country into a war, whether in Syria or in support of Gaza or against Israel more than once. Therefore, there is a big task on the Lebanese army, but I believe the solution is political by Hezbollah decisively taking a decision to stick to itself as a political party within Lebanon, within parliament, and abiding by the majority's decision.
Yeah, and if they don't engage in any sort of political process that could potentially lead to them disarming, and they haven't shown any sign of that yet, what would you do then if they simply say no, we're not going to, we don't think we should?
We exercise pressure, we seek international support, we exercise actions by the Lebanese army to squeeze into Hezbollah's ability to move weapons across the country, to operate as a military militia, and gradually make sure things don't go out of hand, but as much time as it takes, make sure that they are disarmed. I think after both wars in 2024 and 2026, Hezbollah's military apparatus has been hit hard. And I'm sure that with 1.2 million refugees, mostly from the Shiite community that support Hezbollah, solutions for rebuilding livelihoods are fundamental. And if the state of Lebanon succeeds with international pressure to get some leeway from the Israelis in terms of a ceasefire and then an organized return for the displaced to their villages in the south, that would give the Lebanese state a lot of credibility and leverage vis-a-vis Hezbollah, who would then have to fall in line so people can go back to their villages.
Yeah, and just before we let you go, Mark, just update us on what life is like for you in Beirut and also in the south of Lebanon, where I believe you're from.
Unfortunately, life is very dire and hard. This is the second war in less than 2 years. People's resources are used up, and people's unemployment, services, prices, because of what's happening in the Gulf, have went through the roof. So the poverty rates have reached historical numbers in Lebanon, and the youth are literally, for the fourth year after COVID, after 2 wars, our youth have been studying online for 4 or 5 years out of the past 7 and 8. So we are in very bad shape, and Lebanon needs saving. Day-to-day life is hard, especially for those living in public shelters. Most of the displaced are living in homes hosted by relatives, friends, or contact renting in areas, but life is on hold. No one is basically capable of doing anything but think of medicine and water and food for the next day. And our responsibility as elected officials is to make sure that no matter what, the dignity and decency of those people is maintained until the military and political situation would allow them to go back to reconstitute and rebuild their lives.
Mark, we really appreciate getting your thoughts on this. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us, because I imagine you're busy, as are many elected officials in Lebanon at the moment. So thank you, Mark. Mark Daou there, Lebanese MP, joining us here on TRT World.